I want to thank you guys first for publishing the book. It's a great honor to me to have it in Japan, and so thank you for that. Like I said to you, I do hope that I can visit Japan. We had the trip planned for this year, but unfortunately it was too complicated with the restrictions. And so I don't know what Japan is like right now, if it's allowing visitors more than it was before, or quite what's happening. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to go back there in 2023. Yeah, was the last, or it had to have been 2019. Yeah, yeah. I ran a race there, and then also my first time there, traveled quite a bit. And then the second time it was to guide a running tour. And so we went up to Hokkaido and some time in Tokyo, and then we climbed Fujisan as well. So that was fun. It's beautiful. It's such a culturally significant mountain. It's an honor to be able to experience it for the day. It was really cool. I mean, the race that we did, yeah, just the Japanese culture is so much different from our culture, that it just seems like there's a lot more care taken into a lot of things. And then with the running itself, yeah, just I mean, in the Nagano area, the trails are very, very rugged, pretty similar to the Appalachian trail, like in New Hampshire. So, you know, rather than going back and forth, the trail just goes straight up, which is pretty cool. And then the hut system there is really wonderful. It's a fun way to be able to experience the food and the cuisine in Japan, but do it in a very natural setting. It's in Hakuba, and as a base to get into the Japanese Alps. I think that was on my first trip there. Really stunning. It's now I'm having a hard time remembering all the places that I did go. The two times that I've been to Japan, it's very, very quick. We go from one place to the next place, and but yeah, I'm now married, and my wife and I, we have a daughter. She's 6 months old. Travel there for a longer period of time next time we go, and not just 1 week or 2 weeks, but maybe a month or 2 months. I think that would be a lot of fun. Well, so I grew up in the mountains in Colorado, in a very small town, and so my experience with cities when I was growing up was very limited, and I oftentimes felt intimidated by them. Or like I didn't belong in the city. I much preferred being in the mountains. And that continued on into my adulthood, until I met my wife, and she moved to San Francisco, and I wanted to be with her, and I thought that it was the right time in my life to experience a city. And so I moved out there, and we ended up being there for about 6 years. And it's a time that I just really fell in love with not just that city, but the idea of cities in general, and how, you know, we as trail runners or mountain runners like to go visit the mountains and the trails and be in nature. And that's one type of environment. It's obviously a very natural environment by definition, but recognizing that the city is its own type of environment, and in a lot of ways really quite natural. It's differing takes on how human beings organize ourselves on a mass level. I just fell in love with the idea of cities, and like how, you know, San Francisco is organized compared to how Tokyo is organized, or how one part of San Francisco is organized compared to a different part of San Francisco. And just my love for people and for place just really was magnified by opening my heart to the idea of a city. And then in developing a project, which followed my run across the country that I call Every Single Street, in developing this project, it kind of created a structure that allowed me to explore cities in a much more intimate and deep way, in a way that I hadn't ever really explored them before. To see that the same project is being taken on in cities all across the entire world. There's a guy in Tokyo actually who's doing his version of the project, which is called Every Single River, and he's following every river that goes through Tokyo. And as you probably suspect, a lot of the rivers are covered over with highways, which is what happens in big cities. And so he has to do his research and figure out where the river is, even though he can't see it. And then he goes to the source of every single one of those rivers, which is obviously quite a long ways, 70, 100 kilometers from Tokyo. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun and super interesting to explore, this planet, which, is us human beings have left such a huge mark on this planet, and to explore it in a way that gives me appreciation for it rather than sadness.